September 7th, 2011, Elizabeth Escalona of Dallas, Texas attacked her 2-year-old daughter for what is reported as potty training problems. Escalona, 23, kicked her daughter Jocelyn Cedillo in the stomach, hit her with a milk jug, and then glued her hands to the wall with superglue. Jocelyn suffered bleeding to the brain, fractured rib, multiple bruises, bite marks, and was in a coma for a couple of days, potentially even up to a week, according to some sources. Some of the skin had been torn off of Jocelyn's hands, from where the doctors also had found glue residue and white paint chips from the apartment wall. Elizabeth's mother, Ophelia, found Jocelyn and took her to the hospital. Only 42 at the time, the grandmother stated that she had seen Jocelyn laying in the bed and facing the wall. Another source states that Jocelyn was lying on the floor, taking shallow breaths. Elizabeth had called her mother over, with Ophelia stating that she could see something wrong in Escalona's face. Ophelia noticed that Jocelyn had soiled herself, to which she changed her. She was going to take the girl to the emergency room when Jocelyn started asking for food. Ophelia initially believed that Jocelyn didn't need to go to the hospital. Ophelia did end up taking the girl, of which Jocelyn had a seizure upon arriving. Jocelyn was not Escalona's only child, as she had 5 children total, one being born after the attack. Jocelyn and her siblings were taken into state custody, with her siblings telling authorities that their mother kicked their sister in the stomach repeatedly and hit her with various objects before gluing her hands to the wall. Escalona faced probation to life in prison, with prosecutors seeking 45 years of incarceration, offered as a plea bargain. On July 12, 2012, Escalona pled guilty to injury of a child. She's quoted as saying, "I will never forgive myself for what I did to my own daughter." On October 11th, 2012, Escalona pleaded to the court for leniency because she was no longer the quote-unquote monster who committed the attack. When shown the photos of the injuries she did to her daughter, Escalona stated, "Only a monster does that." Defense attorney Angie Naduka asked her if she thought she was a monster, to which Escalona replied, "When that happened, I was." Elizabeth Escalona asked for an opportunity to show that she had changed and would accept any sentence as fair. She stated, "I want everybody to know I'm not a monster. I love my kids." Despite this, she stated that she didn't recall why she hit her daughter so brutally, even though she admitted to it. The prosecution portrayed Escalona as an unfit mother in court with a history of violence. Recordings were played from when she was a teen, of which she had threatened to kill her mother. They stated that she was a former gang member who started smoking weed at the age of 11. Her mother admitted to Elizabeth beating her when she was a child, but she also stated that Escalona was abused. Her sister stated that Elizabeth being taken away wouldn't fix anything. Elizabeth asked for leniency and a second chance. When asked why, she stated, "Because I'm not a monster." When the picture of Jocelyn's injuries were shown at the trial, Escalona began crying. Prosecutor Price stated, "Miss Escalona, if you can do it, you can look at it." In court, Escalona stated that her children were a source of stress. She is quoted as saying, "They didn't bother me, but I did need a little break." She talked about one of her sons misbehaving and getting into fights, while another child once left home without her permission. Elizabeth admitted in her testimony that she often doesn't tell the truth and had lied to doctors and other people assigned to her case. "I'm not a liar. I have a hard time trusting people," she stated. When the prosecution asked her if she was taking responsibility of torturing her daughter, Escalona stated, "No, I didn't torture her." Escalona also admitted to smoking weed twice a day before the attack and using drugs and alcohol while out on bond. Her bond was initially $500,000, but during sentencing, the judge raised it by another $250,000. Ophelia Escalona stated in court that her nearly useless husband had molested all her daughters, including Elizabeth. Elizabeth went to live with her father and was pregnant with her first child at the age of 14. The argument was made at trial that Elizabeth had been battered and abused by men her whole life, claiming that one man was always drunk and jealous. Her lawyer asked her on the stand if she had gotten used to being punched by this man, and Elizabeth replied, "I believe so. To me, that was normal." Her second boyfriend was described as pulling her hair, choking, punching, and kicking her. She allegedly called the police several times on him, but they asked her to leave. In 2012, Elizabeth Escalona received her sentence.
It comes down to a single salient fact. On September 7, 2011, you savagely beat your child to the edge of death. For this you must be punished. Please stand. I find you guilty of the offense charged. I'll set your sentence at confinement in the penitentiary for a period of 99 years. The sentence goes into effect today. As required by law, you will receive all back time credits. Counsel, is there any reason in law why sentence should not be pronounced at this time? Safely held to be turned over to a duly authorized receiving agent of the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Please go with the bailiff.
Prosecutor Aaron Price stated that Elizabeth lied to hide the evil inside her. State District Judge Larry Mitchell said, "On September 7th, 2011, you savagely beat your child to the edge of death. For this, you must be punished." Even though Escalona was offered a plea bargain of 45 years in prison, she was given 99 years at her trial. A counselor had testified that Escalona needed further counseling services, but she also believed that she loved her 5 children. Her lawyer asked for a sentence of less than 10 years, as she believed that Escalona was a train wreck waiting to happen because she'd been abused as a child, grew up in a broken home, and was exposed to drug usage and gangs. Elizabeth Escalona's children are now under the care of their grandmother, Ophelia. Escalona's children are from 2 different men that made custody inquiries. News sources stated that background checks were being done on the men, though it seems that the children stayed with their grandmother. Thankfully, Jocelyn has since recovered from her injuries. When asked what would have happened if Ophelia hadn't taken her granddaughter to the hospital, doctors replied that Jocelyn would have surely died, as she couldn't breathe. Elizabeth Escalona is incarcerated at the Murray facility in Gatesville, Texas. Her projected release date is April 29th, 2111. She will be eligible for parole on August 4th, 2026, despite articles initially stating that she would be eligible for parole 30 years from her sentencing date.